You're going to be surprised when you hear my story. I'm a 45-year-old woman who's been married for 20 years, but over time, the routine of marriage began to feel repetitive. I found myself craving something new, something exciting, but without my husband finding out. So, I started connecting with people he didn't know, searching for safe ways to explore a different side of myself. To meet new people more easily, I began using Instagram and some chat apps. I'd reach out to a few individuals who caught my interest, though I was always aware of the risks, given that I was married. Still, I spent a lot of time scrolling through Instagram whenever my husband was out. One morning, after my husband left for work early, I was browsing Instagram and stumbled upon a profile that caught my eye. It was my husband's friend, John. I found myself getting lost in his photos, even going through ones from years ago. Without thinking, I accidentally liked a photo he had posted 5 years ago. An hour later, a message popped up from him. "Hello." I was surprised, but also a bit excited. When I saw John's message, my heart skipped a beat. I'd thought he was charismatic when we first met, but I had pushed those thoughts aside. Now, by some twist of fate, I had the chance to reconnect. He wrote, "Hey, long time no see. Looks like you've been checking out some old photos," referencing the accidental like. This message felt like an opportunity for something different and added a spark to my otherwise monotonous routine. I hesitated before replying, but eventually typed, "Yeah, that's an old photo. How have you been, John?" His response came quickly. "I'm good, thanks. It's been a while since we last caught up. What's new with you?" At that moment, it felt like a fresh chapter was opening up in my life, giving me the space to share a side of myself that no one else really knew. After a brief chat, John's way of communicating drew me in even more. He was starting to attract me, not just physically, but mentally as well. I realized that the boundaries we had set for ourselves were becoming increasingly blurry. "How about grabbing a coffee?" I typed, surprised by my own courage. John replied almost instantly, "Why not? We could meet up later this evening. Does that work for you?" My heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear as I thought about what to do next. My husband was out, and meeting John felt like a chance to explore the desires I had buried deep within me. "Sure, that sounds great," I replied, eagerly awaiting the evening. As the day went on, my excitement and guilt intertwined, but all I could think about was living in the moment. As the time for our meeting approached, it felt like I was about to step into another world. When the evening came, I walked toward our meeting spot, my heart pounding as I thought about John waiting for me. Numerous scenarios played out in my mind, but they all shared one common point. This meeting would lead me on a new journey. When I arrived, the evening was cool but refreshing. My mind was racing with thoughts as I imagined John waiting there. I scanned the crowd, trying to picture how he would look. Just a few steps in, I spotted his distinctive silhouette. He stood tall and charismatic, holding a coffee cup in his hand. When our eyes met, his smile instantly put me at ease. "Hey, it's been a while. Do you remember me?" he said with a hint of playful sarcasm. "Of course," I replied, my voice a bit shy. "How could I forget? I just checked out your photos." We both laughed as we ordered our coffees. At first, our meeting felt like a casual catch-up between friends, but the excitement inside me grew with each passing second, making me want to know him even more. Once we grabbed our coffees and sat at an outdoor table, John's eyes sparkled. "I'm curious about what you've been up to lately. How's married life treating you?" he asked. His question made me pause. It felt like sharing the boredom of my daily life with him might lighten my burden. "Honestly, it hasn't been all that exciting lately. Everything's become so routine. I want to try different things, but I'm scared," I admitted. John nodded, listening intently. "Don't be afraid. Sometimes you have to take risks to live life, especially if you want something more." His brave words ignited a fire inside me. My heart raced as I took a deep breath to gather my courage. "So, Have you experienced anything like that? I asked. A mysterious smile flickered across John's face, making him even more intriguing. There have been pivotal moments in my life, he began, but I've always felt like I needed to be in the right place at the right time. Sometimes chasing something forbidden can be more exciting. Hearing that sent a wave of thrill through me. Did John share the same feelings I did? Maybe you're right. I feel lost in this regard, I admitted. He looked at me carefully, then said, I have a suggestion for you. Why don't we try something together? Life is short. We should have fun. At that moment, all my boundaries started to crumble. John's courage was drawing me in even more. What kind of things are you talking about? I asked, my voice trembling. John pointed to the coffee cup on the table. Something a bit more fun. Going out on dates, exploring new places, maybe stepping into these new adventures together. After a brief pause, I felt determined to make an exciting decision. Why not? Let's dive into a new adventure. The moment I heard John's proposal, excitement surged within me. This was no longer just an ordinary meeting, it was a chance to turn a new page in my life. Let's dive into a new adventure, I said, and I could see the sparkle in John's eyes brighten even more. That's awesome! As the first step, I'm going to show you a fun place, one of the best bars in the city, John said, smiling. We'll feel more at ease there. After we finished our coffees, we left the meeting spot, following John's lead. As we walked, I felt a mix of confusion and relief in my heart. The guilt of cheating on my husband clashed with the excitement of being with John. But at that moment, I just wanted to enjoy the here and now. As we approached the bar, I saw John step inside with his hands in his pockets. The place was bustling with an energetic vibe. Music filled the air, encouraging people to dance, and laughter and conversations echoed from every corner. This place is amazing, I said as we entered. John responded with a kind smile. It's always a fun time here. Come on, let's dance a little. As the rhythm of the music flowed through me, I started dancing next to John. Our bodies moved in harmony with the beat, and the excitement in my heart kept growing. In that moment, a wave of happiness washed over me, one I had never felt before. John's gaze, while dancing, only fueled the fire of passion inside me. As we danced, I could feel the warmth of John's hands on my waist. I smiled and leaned closer to him. I think we're having a great time tonight, I said, excitement shining in my eyes. This is just the beginning, John replied, tilting his head slightly. Sometimes you have to take risks in life, right? His words sparked even more courage within me. At that moment, I wanted to enjoy my place next to John even more. Maybe you're right. Trying something fun sounds great, I said, feeling a bit braver. As we continued dancing, the energy between us intensified. Each touch heightened my excitement, conjuring up different scenarios in my mind. I could sense that John was trying to get to know me better. After a while, John leaned in and said, I want to experience this more with you. If you're up for it, we can take the night to a more special place. His voice drew me further into this adventure. Passion and excitement called out to me from within. Let's do it, I said with determination. I was ready to risk everything to make the night even more unforgettable. We moved away from the crowd inside and slipped out the back door of the bar. As uncertainty and curiosity filled me about the night ahead, I had no idea where this new adventure would lead, but I was ready to explore. As I stepped out the back door of the bar and walked into the night, my excitement reached its peak. John watched me with a smile, savoring the uncertainty of this moment. One thing was clear. This adventure was touching the depths of my soul. Just as we began to walk outside, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my husband. Where are you? Is it time to come home? A wave of fear washed over me for a moment, but the excitement that followed quickly overshadowed it. Can we stay out a little longer? I asked John, looking at him. My husband needs me, but I want to finish this night. John locked his gaze onto mine and said, "If you want to continue this adventure, we need to make a plan. Maybe we can meet tomorrow night." I had to respond to my husband's message. "I'll be out a little longer. I'll be home in half an hour," I typed. After sending the message, I turned back to John. "I need to go home today, but let's plan to meet tomorrow." John nodded, smiling. "Great. Let's set a definite time for tomorrow. How about dinner?" "That sounds good," I replied, feeling warmth spread through my chest. "Let's meet at 7. Text me the address." "Okay, sure. I can't wait," John replied, as my feelings of confusion and excitement grew. The thought of getting to know him better made my heart race. On my way home, my thoughts collided in my mind. The monotony of my relationship with my husband seemed dull in comparison to the thrill I felt with John. Something felt off. When I opened the door, my husband's face was filled with concern. "You're late. Where have you been?" His voice was tense. "I went out with friends, just trying to have some fun," I said, trying to suppress the guilt bubbling inside me. My husband stepped closer. "You need to be more careful. Do you know what you've been up to lately? You keep coming home later." For a moment, I felt the weight of the situation, but memories of the time I'd spent with John swirled in my mind. I just wanted a few hours away. "Why are you so worried?" I asked, my voice carrying a hint of defiance. My husband responded angrily, "I need to trust you, but that's getting harder. You talk about having fun, but I feel like you're doing it without me." The argument escalated quickly, and I felt a mix of anger and disappointment. It was becoming harder to connect with him. What he said sounded so empty compared to the exhilarating moments I shared with John. We argued late into the night, and my communication with my husband grew weaker. In that moment, I realized John's offer wasn't just the beginning of something exciting, it was a deeper need. The emptiness I felt beside my husband was beginning to overflow, replaced by John's warm smile. That night, as I lay down in bed, thoughts of John's smile and our plans for tomorrow swirled in my mind. I couldn't help but wonder what impact this new adventure would have on my life. The argument with my husband had intensified my indecision and my growing attraction to John. The next morning, as the sun rose, unease and excitement tangled within me. Echoes of the argument with my husband still rang in my head, but I couldn't suppress the thrill of meeting John tomorrow. Throughout the day, even while attending meetings at work, all I could think about was our upcoming date, John's smile, and the moments we would share. I imagined all the possible scenarios. Maybe we'd go to another bar, or perhaps find a place where it would just be the two of us alone. When I got home, my husband greeted me with the same worried expression. "You're late. Where have you been?" he asked, his voice tight. "I went out with friends. I needed to have some fun," I said, trying to push the guilt aside. "I understand that, but you need to be more careful. It's hard to know where you've been lately." For a moment, I felt the weight of my situation, but this time I was more determined. "Okay, you're right, but I'm trying to deal with this. I just need some time," I said, my tone firmer. The argument escalated further. "If you want to change this situation, we need to do something together," my husband said angrily. "But I think you don't want to do that." Memories of my time with John echoed in my mind. "You need to change how you feel about me," I said. "Our life has become monotonous, and I want to change that." My husband closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When the argument ended, his gaze and words left a hollow emptiness inside me. As I went to bed, thoughts of John's smile still circled my mind. That night, I would get closer to John, forming a deeper connection with him and perhaps realizing just how fragile my relationship with my husband had become. I was eagerly awaiting my meeting with John the next day. As I got to work in the morning, I saw a message from him on my phone. "I can't wait. We're going to have a great evening." A warmth spread through me. This evening would mark a new beginning. When night came, I felt free in the dress I wore. I was doing my best to shake off the lingering effects of the argument with my husband. As I stepped outside, I walked toward our meeting place, excitement thrumming in my heart. John was there waiting for me at the door. "Welcome? It's great to see you," he said, and in response to his smile, I felt my worries melt away. The thrill of stepping into a new night together filled me. "Thanks for not making me wait," I said, my voice light and full of anticipation. "Here's the rewritten version of the section you provided, refined for clarity, punctuation, and flow." As I walked up to him, I could feel the attraction between us growing stronger. With each step, the connection seemed to deepen. As we set off together, the excitement inside me intensified. With John walking beside me, the darkness of the night felt like a shared secret, something just between the two of us. John told me he had chosen a beautiful place for us. "I found a quiet, serene spot outside the city," he said. As we drove, I appreciated the time we would spend together. My tension seemed to disappear whenever I was with him. Every moment felt more special, simply because I was sharing it with him. The place we were going to was by a small lake, nestled in the heart of nature. A gazebo, decorated with lights, was set up for dinner. "I picked this place just for you. I hope you like it," John said, smiling at me. He could see the excitement in my eyes. "This is wonderful," I replied, my voice full of gratitude. "Thank you for thinking of this." The moon's reflection shimmered on the calm surface of the lake, creating a magical atmosphere. Inside the gazebo, candles flickered softly, casting a warm glow. We sat outside by the water, and John offered me a glass of wine. "Let's raise a toast to new beginnings," he said. I lifted my glass, and in that moment, I felt the bond between us strengthen. As we sipped our wine, we began sharing stories about our lives, our dreams, and maybe even our secrets. John's stories captivated me. I realized I had completely forgotten about the tension I'd left behind with my husband. This felt like a truly different experience, one I had never had before. After a while, John looked at me and said, "You know, I feel so lucky to have met you." In that moment, warmth spread through my heart. "I'm really happy to have met you too," I replied, gazing into his eyes. As the night deepened, I couldn't help but feel that this was the beginning of something important. The silence of the night. The stillness of the night made our conversations echo even deeper. Suddenly, John moved closer to me. "Maybe we can make this moment even more special," he said, his voice carrying a certain charm. My heart raced as I leaned in closer to him. "Yes," I whispered. We were alone tonight, far from all responsibilities. The attraction inside me pulled me even closer to him. When I looked into John's face, I wanted to capture that magical moment forever. "You know," I began, my voice soft, "what I feel for you is very deep. You've brought a new color, a new excitement into my life." I allowed my feelings to rise to the surface. John locked his gaze onto mine. "I feel the same way about you," he replied. "I'm excited to spend this night together." He pulled me even closer, and in that instant, I found a peace I had never felt before. This moment, where we belonged only to each other, would become one of the most unforgettable of my life. As I felt the depth of emotion in John's eyes, my heart raced even more. The electricity between us seemed to pull us together, stronger than ever. In that moment, I decided to leave behind all the uncertainties and troubles in my life. With John, I felt free and happy. Sometimes people want to turn the page in their lives, and being with you feels like the most beautiful way to start a new chapter. I said those words, and they strengthened the bond between us even further. John smiled and took my hand. "Sharing this with you is so special to me," he said. I want to see this night as a new beginning in our lives. The excitement of this new beginning intoxicated me. We both fell silent for a moment, savoring the tranquility of the lake and the gentle breeze. Then, John leaned in closer to me. "Maybe we should explore this together, more deeply," he said, his voice firm. My heart raced. "I understand what you mean," I replied, feeling a mix of fear and anticipation. But I wanted to experience this moment. The thrill I felt made this time with John even more meaningful. In that moment, John cupped my cheeks in his hands, looking deeply into my eyes. "I'm so happy to feel this," he said softly, "but I also know the chaos these feelings could bring into our lives." For a moment, doubt crept into my mind. Was the problem in my marriage standing in the way of this exciting bond with John? But tonight, the peace I felt with him was worth everything. "Maybe we should live life a little more boldly," I said, gathering my courage. "Let's spend this night together and not worry about what happens in the morning." John smiled and nodded. "I'm glad to hear that. Let's set the past aside and live in the moment." A new beginning. We were filled with the feeling of belonging only to each other. John pulled me closer, and we embraced. The intense attraction we both felt sparked something deep in my heart. Then, John slowly leaned in, and we shared our first kiss. In that moment, time stood still. It felt like only the two of us existed. As the night went on, the bond between us deepened even more. Our passion for each other made me forget the problems from the past. It felt like a new chapter, replacing all the uncertainties in my life.